Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Big East Rewind. I'm Chuck Everson, your host, and my co-host, my partner, and my buddy, my pal, my dentist, the sensational Sonny Sparrow, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, Sonny?
I'm good, Chuck. I'm getting all these flowers. I appreciate it, man.
Listen, I'm trying to bring your spirits up. We know you got injured, and and so I'm doing everything I can from a distance to bring up your spirits, Sonny. That's what we do. We help each
I
other out like
appreciate it.
teammates,
And we know that you have been through more than I have, so I should be doing the same to you.
Yeah, yeah, yep. So, and we talk about, this program that we do, this show that we do. I had a nice conversation with one Michael Graham today, Sonny.
There you
I mean,
go.
yeah, yeah, I tell you what, he's really an interesting guy, man. He had a lot of feelings and, when we talked about him with Coach Thompson and everything. And, a buddy of his, they were going to go to the Clemson game last weekend, and his buddy, without saying anything to him, made a U-turn and went to the cemetery, and they visited Coach Thompson. And
I saw that. I
Mike
saw
said he
that
got
picture.
very emotional, and he's a good dude. I mean, he's just a misunderstood guy a little bit back in the playing days, but he's a really good dude, and I'm glad he had the opportunity to go do that, because it means a lot to these guys are so close with their coaches, and you and I were, and it's that's all part of it, right?
100%. And I think sometimes, as we've seen it, the ones who miss it have all these regrets
Yeah,
that they didn't, appreciate it more, right?
yeah, yeah,
And then they pick it up later. And I'm glad, good for him.
yeah. And as the Georgetown guys wound up being some of the nicest guys in the whole conference. It's unbelievable. So
I know. It's
that
hard to say
said,
that out loud, but it's the truth.
it is the truth, and I'll tell you. That said, I got two guys here today with you and our guest who are not, I wouldn't call them, either of you guys, big Georgetown fans. Neither was I back in the day, by the way. But we're gonna have some fun. We got a great guest today on the show, Sonny. Another coach from the Big East, from the heyday. He was, an assistant. He was the head coach. So without any further ado, let me introduce our guest for us today. He played at Manhattan College. He was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Pretty good. Played for the New York Nets in the ABA, which I'm going to ask him about that because that was my team as a kid growing up, for sure. He coached at Manhattan at his alma mater. He's a Manhattan Hall of Famer. He's a longtime St. John's assistant under Coach Lou Carnesecca and was the St. John's head coach from 92 to 96. And he's a basketball lifer, Sonny. He's been in this for forever. So,
Yep.
welcome to the show, Coach Brian Mahoney. How are you, Coach?
Okay, Chuck, thank you. Thank you for a nice introduction. Sonny, good to see you.
Glad to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. I mean, so let's talk a little bit current day first before we go back and reminisce
And we
and
start talking about the Nets and Billy Paul. So I
yeah,
want to talk
before we
about that,
start
but go
talking
ahead.
about the Whopper and everybody. So
Billy Melchione.
yeah,
That's right.
that's
Oh
my
my
guy. He's a
goodness.
Villanova guy,
That's right.
Melchione.
Channel
Yeah.
9, WOR.
So have you watched any of the games this year so far? Have you watched the current team? What are your thoughts so far in this early
Uh,
part of the season?
I've seen all the St. John's games. I've been to one. Went to the when they played Quinnipiac.
Yeah,
I didn't go to the Alabama game, but I did watch it, which was it could have been a Elite Eight game
yeah,
with the energy and the skill and both of the teams getting up and down the floor. The shooting, Alabama shooting was just unbelievable. You thought
Certainly bringing
they were
eyeballs to the stuff.
the old Kentucky Colonels of the ABA the way they could shoot those
There
three
it is.
point shots.
Louis Dampier. Yep.
That's right. But and then I saw them the other day when they had a very easy game against William and Mary. Uh, I think they have a chance to really be good this year. They have to get better defensively. I think they're a much stronger offensive team than they were last year,
Yeah,
where they
I
had a
agree.
terrific run. But I think it was because of their defense. And it was funny. Last year, I went to a few early practices, And that's all Coach Pitino worked on with different defensive drills for a good hour and 20 minutes at each practice.
Yeah.
Uh, I think he's getting back to that because I think he knows he has a good offensive team, but if their defense, and they should get better because they're really good athletes, they're long, they're deep. He can play 9, 10, maybe 11 guys at times. Uh, and I think once the defense starts to get better, and we forget it's November 18th. Chuck, when you were in school, Sonny, you were in school, we couldn't start practice till October 15th. We
Right.
wouldn't have a game until December 1st.
Right.
So
Exactly.
these teams are so, I know they can practice during the summer months and they have some restrictions, but they're so far more advanced than our ball clubs.
Yeah.
Add to that all the individual workouts, right? The skill sessions. I mean, it's so dialed down to like a minuscule, speck of dust is important, whereas that wasn't what we dealt with.
No, no, we didn't have that. Matter of fact, even as coaches, you couldn't even walk through the gym if the guys were playing 2-on-2 or 3 or 4. I remember Lou would say, "Get the hell out of there!" If the AD sees you, somebody sees you, we get called
A
for a
violation.
penalty.
Yeah.
Right. The big thing I think nowadays, Coach, is the chemistry part of this. Rick is still cooking up what five plays better with each other at a certain point in the game than another five, or what do we go big? Do we go quick? Do we go small? Do we so they're trying to figure all of that out. You got a bunch of new guys, as every team does.
I
So
think
I
he
think
has at
I think
least.
the hardest part about starting is the chemistry. What do you think?
Oh, there's no question about it. And like you're right, every year they have at least 9 or 10 new players.
Yeah.
Uh, I think they only have one kid from New York.
Yeah.
During my
Can you
years, all
imagine?
the kids were from Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens,
Mhm.
Nassau, Suffolk County. So we didn't have to wander too far. But nowadays, it's completely different, and it's not just true for St. John's. Every team in the country
Yeah.
they have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 new players each and every year. It's really become professional basketball, not
Yeah.
at the
Syracuse
NBA
has
level, but I think you're going to see more kids staying longer because of the NIL money that certain schools are able to come up with and spend on their players.
yeah,
Yeah.
Syracuse only has two guys returning.
Only two.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think Nova was the same. I think we only had two guys, and one guy was a red shirt last year. So one player, Perkins, was the only one that actually played in any games last year. That's back at Villanova.
Yeah, I
So
watched Villanova the other night. I believe they were on, and uh, I didn't see any players from the previous year.
yeah. Yeah.
So all these coaches are going through the same thing, and it takes time. Not only when you recruit them, you really don't know them. You
Yeah.
know, years ago when we would recruit a kid like Ronnie Stewart, who you knew
Yeah. Sure.
from the high school. Well, we watched him for 2 or 3 years. We saw him when he was good, when he had a good game. We saw him when he had a bad game. We knew people that knew him, so we could find out what type of kid you know, in today's world, it's very hard to find out all that information.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's totally different. I mean, everybody now has got a crew around them, you know, and I think that makes it challenging too, right? I mean, you got to deal with everybody now, not just the player and
Yeah.
mom and dad or coach or
Well, it
I,
used to be the high school coach, but then it became the AAU people, and then
yeah,
now you have to deal. You go right through their agent or general manager
yeah,
to
Yeah, the
get an
agents changed the game.
opportunity to speak to them. So it's a different world, that's for sure. And we're a little bit older, so we're going back, 30,
yeah,
sometimes 40 years ago, and it's completely different.
You
yeah. That's
imagine, coach, you want to talk to a player and you want to have a conversation, and he's like, you're going to have to talk to my guy first.
Yeah, it's true. And what from what I understand, many of them say. what's the type of money? This is what we're interested in. If you can't meet that, there's no sense even coming in talking.
Wow.
It's hard to
Yeah.
believe, right?
That's amazing, coach, because the kid has never even stepped on the floor, you know? And so how do I know what the guy's worth, number one. And number two is, you got guys that are making a lot of money. The kid at BYU, RJ or AJ, I can't think of his name, the freshman of the
Right.
year. He's making, I've heard anything from $4 million to $7 million. He's never
Yeah, I
Right.
heard 7 to 8.
he's
Yeah,
never
Cooper
he never
Flag, Cooper
stepped on the
Flag money.
floor before. So now let's just say, he doesn't have a good year, hypothetically, right? I think he will because he's been looking great right from the jump. But if he doesn't, you can't take some of that money back because you didn't earn it all, or you can't fire the kid. He's not an employee. So you're stuck paying him the whole barrel.
From what I understand, they're free agents, 1 year contracts at a time. So everything gets talked about at the end of the year, whether they stay. If they had a great year, maybe their price goes up. If
Yeah.
they didn't have such a good year, maybe it goes down, and then they say, well, I can maybe transfer to another program where I can get the same type of money I got this
Yeah.
particular year.
Yeah. I
I will tell
certainly
you,
go ahead.
for like a school like Binghamton, right? Lower major, lower mid major, whatever the classification is. They know exactly, okay, if you're a 4-man and you shoot 40% from three, your market is three to $500,000. Like they know down to the penny almost what their market. Now, because I know the coach well, he said, if he had upped his 3-point percentage to over 40, he would have doubled his money. He'd have made 600. So there's literally like price tag values. I don't know who's doing. Someone has to be doing this, right?
Yeah, I
But
don't
there's
know who.
actual money assigned.
Maybe
It's
Yeah,
a
that's what the
market.
GM does now, Sonny.
Yeah,
that
but I
can
think
be.
it's a lot of it's got to be the market, right? You figure out, okay, this guy's
But
getting this. This was his number. He set the bar, right?
yeah, who's the person setting that bar in the marketplace?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
It, it
I don't
totally.
know, but if it's like baseball free agency, right? This guy hit 320. He signed and he's a first baseman. He signed for 5 years and 100 million. Okay, so 20 million. That's the top salary for a first baseman. You know what I mean? It's got to be
Yeah,
some type of formula like that. Which
yeah,
which in this case, my question was the other day to Bob Driscoll was, what about if someone's not performing? Because I read a lot of stories about this. Kid's not performing, and the school's funding it. They're getting him some money. They can say, "Listen, you're not playing $800,000 worth. We're going to pull back 200. You're going to be making 6."
I don't know if they can do that though. I'm not sure.
Curious.
Do they sign a contract at the start of the school year? I'm not sure how that. Those are things that are going to. I think we'll see down the road come out, and we'll have answers for it. But very interesting. I don't know if these schools can always come up with this type of money to pay these. In St. John's case, we don't have football. So if there's a limit of 20, did I read it somewhere, $20 million per
Yeah.
school, so they don't have to worry about a football team trying to. Now, you guys down in Villanova, you have a football team, right?
Yeah. We're at 1AA. We're going to the Patriot League next year. So
So
so they'll be
I'm
playing in the
sure that
Patriot League.
there's NIL money there,
I'm sure
some of
there
their
is. Yep,
players. Yeah,
yep.
very
I mean,
interesting
it's
stuff.
not, there's never going to be a perfect solution to this, coach. I just think that it's going to evolve as it goes, and we'll see in a couple of years how this is going to all wash out. It's
Yeah,
interesting, for
it's
sure.
all new. I
Well,
think every
that's
every
all
year that.
new. Let's talk about the old school now. Let's go back. Go back
What a
in the time.
segue.
Let's go
What a
back in the.
segue.
Thank you.
Can
Thank
we
you.
give Chuck a little credit?
Well, we're
Let's
all a
go
little
back in the
gray. I'm a little
DeLorean.
grayer than you guys because I'm a little bit older than you guys.
Come on, that
Yeah.
was so smooth. I'm in awe.
There you go.
Speaking of
Listen, professional journalism, Sonny, at its
professional
best, right
journalist,
there.
baby.
There you go. All right. So let's go back to your playing days, coach, at Manhattan. you know, who recruited you, and how did you get to Manhattan? What was your path?
Well, I played high school basketball here in Rockville Center at a
Yep.
school called St. Agnes
Yep.
High School.
A lot of good players out of St. Agnes, right?
We had a terrific,
AJ Weiner came out of there, and you know, a lot of.
yeah.
I think Frankie Elijah go there too?
Frankie Elijah was after me.
Yeah.
I had a brother Charlie who was a good player. Uh, we had a kid Eddie Malloy, played
Yep.
at Rhode Island, is a terrific player. Greg Cluse of the Cluse family.
Right. Yep. Yep.
He was a high school teammate of mine. We had great high school basketball. We ended up going each year down to Cumberland, Maryland, to play in that Alhambra tournament where they invite 16 of the top Catholic high schools in the East Coast. And my junior year, we won it. We beat DeMatha and Mackin. And then my senior year, we beat DeMatha again in the semis and lost to Austin Carr at Mackin in the finals. Uh, so I was recruited by a lot of different schools. And one of the things that enticed me about Manhattan was at that time they would play eight to 10 games at Madison Square Garden. And that, you know, the Knicks were good. I was always a Knick fan, and I thought that would be terrific. Uh, and plus, my family could get to see me play
Sure.
all the time. So that's one of the reasons I ended up going to Manhattan. And I had a wonderful career. I played for a man named Jack Powell, who's just passed away a couple of months ago. We came in together. He was a great player for Manhattan. Matter of fact, when he was in school in 1958, Manhattan got an NCAA bid to the tournament, and they had to open up against West Virginia. And West Virginia was rated number one in the country. They had a pretty good player named Jerry West was on
Yeah, I
that
was gonna
team.
I
say,
say that
yeah.
was Jerry West
And,
days, right? Yeah.
and believe it or not, Manhattan won that game. I think Jack had 28 or 29 points in that particular game for them to knock off West Virginia in the opening round. And he became the coach, and for about 15 years he was the head coach, then became the athletic director up at Manhattan. So he had a wonderful career there, and so well he thought of. A great person, and I had a great opportunity to play for him, and I got a chance to. Back then, you had freshman ball, so you had to play on a freshman team, which I did, and uh, then as a sophomore, I started every game for 3 years. I probably played about 38, 39 minutes a game. So I really had a great chance to improve my game, get better, get stronger, uh, and really learn the game of basketball.
Yeah, you know, and then you went from there. You got drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA, right? Which is
Yep.
exciting. And you wind up playing with the New York. You play a year in Cleveland.
I was my first year at a school. I was drafted by both the Nets and the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers, I was drafted, I think, the fifth round.
Yeah.
Uh, and with the Nets, I was drafted in the third round. So I ended up going to both camps, and they both wanted me to go to the veteran camp, you know, to start the
Mhm.
season, but there was no guaranteed money. So I was getting married uh, the last week of August of after I got out of school, and so Jack Powell said to me, "Well, why don't you go over to Europe? I have this team in France that would love to have you." So I ended up playing a year in France, my first year out, and then I went back to the Cavaliers the second year and was with them only for a couple of months. And Lou gives me a call. He says, "Can you meet me in where the hell was it? Someplace in Michigan." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, I have a couple of guys that are injured. I think Billy Melchioni might have been injured,
Right.
and I need a guard. And if you can meet me up there," and we took it from there. So that's how I got involved with the Nets, believe it or not.
Yeah. On that team, you know, we mentioned a couple of the names, but Brian Taylor played on that team.
Yeah, from Princeton,
My
great
guy
player.
George Bruns, who I used to run pickup games with him forever at
George
when I
came,
was a kid.
yes, he came. I think he came the following year
Okay.
with the Nets. But we
And
had Billy Paulse, of course.
yep,
We had Trooper Washington. I don't know if you remember that name. He's an old
yep,
veteran. Uh, Johnny Roach
yep. Johnny Roach, sure.
played at South Carolina, and then
Yep.
he played with Frank McGuire down there, and
Hmm.
was a terrific player. And you mentioned Brian Taylor. Uh, so it was a terrific experience. Of course, Billy Melchione was really the star of the team back then.
Right.
He was a great scorer, terrific guy, Billy.
He still is. He's awesome. I see him
Yes, he's.
all the time at Nova events. He's at everything. He's a
I
big
think he's
dunker
living
himself.
now down in Naples, Florida area.
Yep. He's
From
down
what I
there most of the
understand.
time. Yep. He comes
Yeah.
up for games and stuff though, and a lot of the events he's at. It's always great to see him.
Coach, you know what school Bill Melchione came from? I didn't hear it. I mean, do you know what school?
Yeah, I know what
I know
school.
what college he played at.
Right.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Chuck
Yeah.
wasn't clear when he
Yeah.
mentioned Villanova
All right.
about 20
Listen,
times.
man,
I
I'm
wasn't
Mr.
clear.
Villanova. You know that, Sonny. I have to talk about that. It's my job, you know?
There should be a little bell every time, but the Villanova count.
The whole thing would be ringing. It'd be like a telephone ringing the whole time. Come on, son.
So
So
with the
okay.
Nets, Lou decides to. He was with them 3 years, and he decided to go back to St. John's as the head coach. And at that point, he asked me that would I be interested in going. I think I was 23 years old at the time, and I think I always had in the back of my mind I wanted to coach, and I needed a job. So why not? So I decided to go with Lou, and we had another coach with us, John Kress. Chuck might remember him, a terrific coach. He really taught me a lot about coaching, about scouting, about recruiting, and it was just the three of us, and we worked together 4 or 5 years. So it was a great experience, and of course John left to go down to the College of Charleston in South Carolina, and it was at when he first went there, I believe it was an NAIA program, and he brought it along
Yeah,
to
very famous
Division
coach down
One.
there.
And
Yep.
matter of fact, we were down there a couple of years ago. St. John's played in their tournament, and they named the floor after John Kress. So he had a
Nice.
great career there. Wonderful guy, terrific coach, and I owe him an awful lot because he did teach me a lot about the game of about coaching the game of basketball.
So I got to ask you: you're a young, healthy male, NBA, ABA. You're right there. Now you're going to give that up and go coach at college. How tough a
Yeah,
decision was it? It couldn't
it
have
was
been
it
easy.
was it was it was. I think my wife thought I would go to Wall Street because most of the people from my town did end up going there and doing very, very well. I don't think she thought about me ended up coaching, but it was always something I wanted to do, and I was fortunate enough to, how about 23 years old, get an opportunity to be an assistant coach at a school like St. John's with their great tradition, and to work for a guy like Coach Carnesecca. Forget about it. I mean, unheard of. And we
So,
spent close to 50 years together, very
I was
close.
gonna say, so there's another segue. Let's get into it with Coach. Talk about your relationship with him along. I mean, you were there like my relationship with Coach Mass, not as long as yours with Coach Lou, but you were there right to the end with Coach, right?
Yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, it probably started when I was in high school. We used to go to the Carnesecca Sarachek basketball camp every summer. It was someplace upstate New York. And it was always like in August, the last week of August. I guess he had it right before school started. So that's kind of when I first met him. And then, playing for him, the last year he coached the Nets, we had a really it was a rough season. And I think he was there for 3 years, and he was happy to get the opportunity to go back to St. John's. He felt really much more comfortable there. And at that time, St. John's, I think John said to him, he says, "Why don't let's talk about Brian. He's a Long Island guy. We recruit on Long Island. People know his name for what he did at Manhattan College. He would be a perfect young assistant coach to go along with us." And that's how that all transpired.
I ask you, what are two of the most important things that you picked up from Coach Carnesecca?
Oh, how he handled people. Uh, he was so gracious with his time, and over the course of the years, there were some kids that we recruited that we didn't get. Uh, and you would go 4 years later and they would be calling coach, or they'd be coming to see him like in April. And these are good players, played for big schools. And they all say, "Coach, can you help me get to Spain? Can you help me get to Italy? Can you help?" I can't tell you how many kids like that we tried to get, we didn't get, but would come back, and Lou would pick up the phone call because he had those connections. And the next thing you know, the guy's over playing in Spain or in Italy.
Wow.
You know
Amazing,
what's
right?
fascinating? Like all the coaches and the people that we spoke to, there's always someone that has a cross experience or a negative interaction with certain people. I can't think of one comment
Mm-mm.
anywhere close to that line. I mean, not even close. Maybe not brothers, but incredible respect and admiration for him. It's incredible that
Well,
he just
he always
carried
had
that with
time
him.
for people. He didn't forget, and he always tried to do the right thing. So if he could help
100% right. Yeah.
somebody, not only our players, which forget about it, you can't believe things he did to help so many of our former players. But even guys that, like I said, that we wanted to recruit for some reason we didn't get, or they didn't want to go to St. John's, but yet later on down the road, they would come back to him and say, "Coach, can you help me here? Can you help me there?" And Lou would pick up the phone and make the recommendation.
Well, that
So
human connection. I mean, he was a pro, master.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was beloved. I mean, in New York as a whole. I mean, it was unbelievable. The admiration and the love for the guy. I think a lot of that he resonated with people because of his work ethic, and he just seemed like a regular guy on the court. He was enthusiastic. He was up and down the sideline. He was full of energy, and I think that resonated with people.
And Chuck, when the Big East first started, Lou was not a fan of joining the Big East.
Yeah,
Uh,
Hmm.
and his thinking was, we got this thing going pretty good. We're winning about 20 games a year. We're playing Syracuse and Villanova and BC and Georgetown and all
Georgetown.
those
Yeah.
teams. Why do I have to play them twice
Do I want to play him twice?
right.
Yeah.
or 3 times a year? But
Exactly.
as it turned out, he later admitted that it was the best thing because now people around the country were exposed to the Big East coaches and the Big East schools, and that we could go up against the ACC teams and the Southeast Conference and the Pac-10 conferences. Uh, I remember we were out recruiting, and believe it or not, I got Lou to go with me to Los Angeles to look at a high school kid. And we get there, and I spoke to the kid the night before we flew out. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be in this league down here in Southern California." I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to be there tomorrow with Coach Carnesecca." And the kid apparently turned his ankle the night before, never called nothing. We fly all the way out
Oh
there,
my God.
and Lou says, "Now what do we do?" Kid,
Right.
no kid never shows up. I said, "Well, Coach, I'm going to take you back to the airport. I'm going to hang around a couple of days and see what I can figure
Yeah.
out here. But he would always come back and says, "No, Brian, we can't get a good point guard from Brooklyn, or he didn't even like
You
to
got
go
a, you got
across
a
the
couple.
river."
You've got a couple of good point guards from the
Oh
city. I
no,
mean,
no.
You wound
he
up
would
with
always.
Mark Jackson. He did a number on us for sure.
Oh no, we always. But that was his thinking. Let's get the. We know these kids here. They know us. We can
Yeah.
find out really what type of people they are. And over the years, I would have to say we were very fortunate to get not only good players but good people, really good people.
Well, the talent pool is not the same anymore in the city, I don't think. From what I'm hearing, the talent like it was back when Sonny and I
Yeah.
played. I mean, it was they did a whole thing called the Point Guards, and they were all New York City point guards. And at that time there was Pearl and Kenny Anderson and Rod Strickland and Mark and all these guys,
Sham guy.
Sham God. I mean, you had all these guys that were playing. It was, you had your pick of the litter pretty much.
Well, you had to be lucky. You always wanted to get one of those guys,
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, you
And
got lucky a lot, that's for sure. Because you got
yeah, well, we worked at it. That's for sure.
well, yeah. Listen, I know. So let me ask you, because I'm jumping ahead just a little bit, but we were talking about coach. So what's it like to replace a legend in the big seat on the
Ooh,
bench? How tough was that?
well, uh, well, it's very tough. When you look back at it, at the time, I was just on it. I mean, I worked there for almost 25 years. I recruited kids, coached kids in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. So for 3 decades.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah,
got the chance to be the head coach and recruited and coached. So that's a pretty long run at one particular school. So
yeah.
I was very fortunate to I didn't know if I was going to get the job, believe it or not. It was a long string out type thing, but
Did Louis have any influence in that?
I, I'm sure he told the people to be who he wanted to be
Right.
to follow him. Uh, but with that you never know. And I was very happy. And a matter of fact, my first year was probably the best year I had at it before. We were picked to come in ninth out of 10 teams, and we ended up having a terrific year and coming in second and going to the second round of we lost in a close game to Arkansas in the second round.
Yeah.
But we had a kid named David Kane who never played first 3 years and made first team All Big East his senior year. Kid named Lamont Middleton, a tough kid from the Bronx. David
Tough.
was also from the Bronx, and we had a big guy named Chanel Scott, who's just a junior, again from All Hallows in the Bronx. So we over the years we had some Malik Sealy, Walter Berry, they were from the Bronx, so we always ended up
Yeah, you
going up
did good in
there
the Bronx for sure.
to get guys, Bronx and
So
Brooklyn and
so now that
Queens.
you're talking about the recruiting trail, okay? I'm gonna name a couple of guys that you recruited. Some you got, some you didn't get. Tell me the stories about what happened with their recruitment, okay?
All right,
You
if I
recruited
can,
Bobby Hurley, who obviously went to Duke and had an unbelievable career. What happened with Bobby?
Bobby Hurley, yes, we recruited him uh, for a couple of years, just to get to know him and the family. Again, a terrific player, terrific family. The mother and father I spent time with. Uh, it was funny. We had Malik Sealy and Robert Wardan from Archbishop Beloy.
Right.
We recruited both of them, and they were both invited to the McDonald's All American game. And this time they had it in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Hmm.
So I said to Lou, I'm going to Albuquerque. He says, "What are you doing? We already got these." I know, but I'll just watch. But you know who's coaching them? I said, is Bobby Hurley. I said, Bobby Hurley, the father, I said, is coaching them in the McDonald's All-Star game. I want to spend some time with him, and his wife's going to be there. So I'll spend just to get to know them. Well, fast forward, uh, Bobby Hurley decides on 4 schools he's interested in. It was Duke, Carolina, Syracuse, and St. John's. So I said, well, at least we're still in the ball game.
Yeah,
And he makes his first visit to Duke, and then that was it. He
that
made
was
it.
that.
He cancels out the other 3. Didn't even make visits there.
Wow.
And I'm trying to figure out why that was.
I don't think they left. I don't think they let him cross the border after that. I think he was stuck in Carolina.
Yeah,
But
that could be.
Bob Hurley played. As a matter of fact, I think I played against him. He was at St. Peter's College as a player, and we would play St. Peter's every year. But his wife, I thought she was Irish. She was Polish,
Oh,
and I thought she looked Irish. Blah blah blah. And now she had a Polish name, and I think Mike did a great job talking about his background being a Polish guy. So,
wow.
but yeah, we spent a lot of time. But sometimes in recruiting, you can spend years and hours, and you can get close, but you don't bring home the person you were looking for. And as it turned out, we didn't get Bobby Hurley. You know, we recruited that year. We recruited David Kane.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, because we watched them, and I always, and Dave never really got a chance to play much at all his first 3 years. We had this kid from Syracuse, uh, Jason Buchanan, who came in
Yeah.
and became 1,000-point scorer, played terrific for us for 4 years, and then Dave finally got his opportunity when I took over in was it 92? I guess it was 92, 93.
Okay, here's another one. Felipe Lopez.
Yeah, Felipe. Wow. You know, when he finally decided to commit to St. John's, he had, I think, 10 pages of articles on the back of the Daily News. Now,
Yeah.
Willis Reed and Walt Frazier, when they won their championship for the Knicks, I guess 1970 was the first one, they had maybe 2 pages
Right.
of
I know.
information. So Felipe was a highly thought out young guy. Plus, we had to recruit him, and we worked, Ronnie and myself, Ronnie Rutledge, uh, put a lot of hours into that. Uh, and very fortunate to come away. We went into their home. He was living up in the Bronx, and I went in after Dean Smith went in, after Roy Williams went in, and after Bobby Knight went in to
Wow.
speak to him. So I'm saying, holy shit, here I am, the third show.
You're batting cleanup in that lineup, coach.
These guys won millions of games.
But you
But
got him.
yes, we did. And I think one of the things that was helpful to us, and I don't know what those coaches did, we went in and I had my whole presentation in Spanish
Oh, wow.
because mom and dad didn't speak a word of Spanish at that time. And Felipe spoke a little bit. So I wanted to make sure whatever I was saying to them that night was they could read it and understand it.
Wow.
And I think that helped us. And
Yeah.
I think he was the youngest of the family, very close knit family, and I didn't think they wanted him to go too far. You know, at least we were
Yeah.
hoping that would be the case. But and then of course I don't know, Felipe signed with us first or second. We had another kid, Zendon Hamilton.
I was just going to
Terrific.
ask. That was the next guy I was going to ask you about.
Yeah, terrific player, right here in Long Island.
Yeah, he's a Long Island guy. Yeah.
Yeah, with the
Sewanaka, right?
Sewanaka High School.
Yep. Yep.
Great. I still I see him now. You know what he's doing this year? He's gonna announce basketball games for Hofstra University.
Oh,
He has
great.
about 14 games. I think they're on Madison Square Garden Network, and Zendon's going to announce some of those games for them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but he had a terrific career. So for us, my first year as a head coach to come in with Felipe and then Zendon, we had another kid from Virginia, Tariq Turner. He was from Charlottesville, Virginia, and we were able to bring him in also. So three pretty good ball players for us.
Yep. Last guy on the recruitment. You know, you were involved heavily with Chris, right? With Mully.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
listen, we've heard a little bit of the story from Lou. You know, when we sat in Coach's kitchen and talked with him, and which was
Okay.
really special, man. That was
Yeah.
probably our favorite show, I would
That's
think.
where we always had our meetings, in the kitchen
In the kitchen, yeah, it was
with a
awesome.
couple of bottles of wine.
Well,
back
we
when
didn't get to do
A
that.
lot of business gets done in the kitchen.
Yeah,
That's
man.
right.
So talk about recruiting Chris. I mean, here he is. He's one of the top kids in the country. Now has become he was on the
Yeah.
dream team. He's in the top 75 players of all time. What was that like recruiting him?
Well, we knew the family so well, and we knew Chris since he probably started at Lou and Red's camp, Red Sarachek's basketball camp when he was in the third or fourth grade. So they would always come up, and we had a great relationship with the people at Xaverian High School where he ended up. He first went to Power for a couple
Right.
of years, but then ended up going with Jack Galisi over to Xaverian. So, you know, we knew him very well. They knew us very
Yeah.
well. Uh, we were just keeping our fingers crossed that that
Came
was
down to
good
staying
enough.
home, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
he could have went anywhere he wanted,
yeah. Oh, of course, of course.
Uh, but he
And
was such a
Lou had a funny line. He said we could show him the subway, because he knew everything. He
yeah, and he
grew up
played in
there.
all the parks.
Yeah,
He played,
sure. You know, wasn't
you know,
anything he didn't know about the city. That's for sure.
but he was really he was a kid from Brooklyn. I think that's what it really came down to, and I
Yeah.
think he just felt really comfortable with us. And it's funny that his after his senior year, he got invited. At that time, they had matter of fact, up in Syracuse, they had the National Sports Festival,
Right.
and
Mhm.
at that time they would bring in top seniors just finished high school and top freshman players throughout the country, and they would have north, south, east, west games. So Lou said, "Why go up there and just watch Chris, see how he's doing up there for a couple of days." So I go up to Syracuse, and I'm watching these games, and Chris really played great. Uh, so I come back, and he says, "What do you think?" I said, "Lou, you better sit down." He says, "What?" I said, "You better sit down." Now here they had Pat Ewing, of course, going to
Right.
Georgetown. Michael Jordan, who was at Carolina, and Lou goes, "Yeah, well, we could never get those guys." I said, "Well, the next best guy, maybe even above those guys, is our guy Chris." He said, "Oh no, 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 don't tell anybody. Remember, Chris can't run and he can't jump." That's all. When everybody asked, that's all he wanted to
All he
give
could
me.
do is play, though, Coach. Right?
Well, he could play. We know that.
Yeah. No
But he
doubt
also
about
said,
that.
Chris is a little slow. He can't run. He can't jump. But we probably knew since he was a sophomore, he was going to be unbelievable. And what made him so great was the work he put into it.
Hmm.
We would have long practices, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and he'd still come back at midnight to shoot for an hour,
Yeah.
getting an extra couple hundred shots. So when he was make those, that wasn't an accident. He put the time in. And I think Mark Jackson, who was 2 years behind him, he said, when I saw the way he worked, I had to try to put that type of effort into it. And that I think really helped him become the player he became.
He had to
100%.
schmooze a lot of janitors in his day, man, because he seemed to get the
Oh,
key to every gym.
yeah. Well,
Every gym he had a key to, right?
we had a couple of people that would open our gym at midnight for him, and
Right.
he'd be in there to 2 a.m. Then we had to shake his ass up to get him up to get to class.
Yep. Yep. Two sides to that coin. So
Yeah,
now that we
but
talked a little bit about Chris, let's talk about the 85 season. That was probably one of the greatest seasons for the Big East and St. John's, right? I mean,
oh,
that
yeah.
season was unbelievable. I mean, the hype between Georgetown and you guys all year long, 1 and 2, back and forth. Talk about that season for a minute.
The games. I'm thinking about later on. Connecticut became so powerful, but our toughest games were Georgetown, Syracuse, Villanova.
And that year,
Uh,
Niagara
do,
was a
do,
tough
do,
game.
oh, Niagara, yeah, they beat us. They
Sorry, I didn't.
legitimately,
I don't want to. I don't want to
yeah,
hurt
have
your
to give me.
feelings, Coach.
we stayed up all night. But that team, we had a very deep team. We had Billy Winnington,
Sure.
we had Chris, and we were able to finally get Walter Berry. And he made the difference because he gave us that really inside scoring threat. And uh and Chris was unbelievable.
That
Chris
was a
came up
one-two
so many,
punch like
so
no other, coach. I mean, Walter and
one, two,
Chris.
yeah. And
Holy
Chris was
smokes.
such a good passer. People forget about it. He
Yeah.
could really pass the ball and was a willing passer.
Yep.
So it wasn't like if Walter was anywhere open, he was going to get him the ball down low. And we had Walter in that one low spot on the right side. That's all. He just had to go there, and we were
Yeah.
able to design some stuff to get him the ball in that area. And if they would double up, sometimes it was hard to get Walter to pass out of the post
Right.
because he knew one thing. But if you left Chris alone, he was going to make those shots. But we had a deep, deep team. We had a kid named Ronnie Rowan. He
Yeah,
was a
Ronnie.
transfer from
Notre Dame, right?
Notre Dame. It came in and really backed up Chris for 2 years before him and Mark as seniors, and they won. I believe they won 30 games that following year after the Final Four team.
Yeah.
But it was such a great group of kids that really worked hard at it. We had great practices. We had 9, 10 guys deep, and we had a kid named Willie Glass, Ronnie Stewart, I talked about
Right.
before, a wonderful kid. Uh, yeah, it was just a great run. Mike
Yeah, great
Moses.
group of guys. I mean, I got to know everybody pretty well because of my relationship with Ron and,
Okay,
and from Brentwood, and it was funny because I remember um, when we got to Lexington, Dwayne McClain and I went across town to your hotel, and there was these 5 statues of the starting 5 on top of the building.
that's right. You
and
remember that?
and we walk in there, and we went in to go see Ron. So, because Ron and I wanted to take a moment and say, "Hey, can you believe we're both here? One of us has got a chance to bring the national championship back to Brentwood."
Yeah,
And Dwayne was close with them because they played on one of the Big East teams. I think Coach Carnesecca coached it when they went. I forget where they went. It might have been Italy or something. But so it was nice to be able to see those guys. And through Ron, and I knew Walter. I played against him in high school a little bit. Everybody knows Chris. I knew Billy Whittington. So being around all those guys was very comfortable for us as opponents. The only time you made us uncomfortable is when we were playing you on the court that year because you got us 3 times.
yeah,
And thank
yeah,
goodness. No offense, but thank goodness we were rooting for Georgetown because we didn't want to see Walter and Chris in the final.
yeah. Well, and you guys were unbelievable during the Final Four. I mean, Rolly's teams, they were so hard to scout against because you had so many different sets. And
Yeah,
and I'm sure Rolly was like Lou. He'd come in and said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, coach, they have a lot of different sets." He said, "Well, we're going to go over every one of those damn sets in practice and be prepared for it." And he says, "What do they run in the last 3 minutes?" I had, when he went out to scout, you would say, "What are if it's a tight game, what do they run in the last 3 minutes of the game?" Those are the things we have to remember and go over. And
yeah.
that was John Kress. He said, "Always
Some of those
when you."
games though, you didn't need much help in the last 3 minutes. I
Well,
mean,
if you had a
you had
cushion, but a
us you
lot of
had us pretty
times,
good, man.
yeah, a lot of times they were close games. I remember one game, it wasn't that year, but we played you on your campus in the little gym.
Yep.
What's it? And
In
that
in the cat house or
in
the
in
pavilion.
in the cat house, not
Yep.
not the new, yeah, in the cat house. And it was, you could only put in what, a couple thousand people.
If
It
that,
would
yeah.
and they'd probably try to get
Step on
4,000
somebody's
in.
foot, you're out of bounds.
Well, between Rowley and Lou, they kept bumping into each other at halftime and
Yeah.
looking at one another.
Listen, playing you guys at Alumni Hall at the time, now Carnesecca Arena, was not easy.
No,
No,
no.
I think I played there twice in my 4 years. At the other times we played at the Garden, but I remember the one game Dave Russell comes down my freshman year and did a 360-degree Statue of Liberty dunk that I thought the building was going to come down. The place got so loud. It was unbelievable. I mean, he
What a great
was,
player he was for
yeah,
us,
another
David.
Long
Oh,
Island, you know?
yeah, Bellport.
Yep,
What a sweetheart.
yep,
And
yep.
could jump out of the gym.
And I
He-
think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a game we played. It wasn't in '85, maybe the year before or prior to that. We thought we won the game and ran off the court, and the referees blew the whistle. Nobody heard it because of the noise. Brought everybody back. We were up two, and Billy Winnington was on the line for a 1-and-1, and he made the first and missed the second, and we wound up winning the game by one. But the
Okay.
games against you guys and in the Syracuses and those teams and the Georgetowns were always
Oh, great
exciting to watch.
battles.
Even win or lose, it was if you're a basketball fan, if you're a Big East fan, those were the games you wanted to see. That was must-see TV back in the day.
And that was usually those games would be on Monday night, right? Monday
Yep,
night was,
exactly. Big Monday. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun time, Coach. I mean, it was especially when you're playing. Listen, it's the one thing that Sonny and I both talk about and love about the Big East back then was, and it still is, I guess, to some degree now. You fought so hard against St. John's, for example, okay? And you were at each other's throat. You wanted to kill each other, to win that game. But we're rooting for St. John's if they're playing North Carolina, or we're rooting for St. John's if they're playing Duke or Kentucky or any of those teams because they're our guys, because it was all the Big East.
Yeah.
Same for Georgetown, same for Syracuse. All those teams, we rooted for those guys when they played outside the conference. I don't know of
Talk
any other
about,
conference that really does that.
back then Georgetown, they were against the world, and that's the way Coach
Yeah.
Thompson wanted it. But later on, uh, Patrick Ewing was playing for the Knickerbockers, and in recruiting, we would always take some of the recruits to the Garden and show them around. And we're recruiting this kid. Matter of fact, he was from Bobby Hurley's
Jersey
his
City,
team,
St.
St.
Anthony.
Anthony's. Mhm.
St. Anthony's. And so we're in there, and we're in the Patrick comes into the Nick locker room, and I'm showing the kid around, and he says to him, he says, "Who's recruiting you?" And he tells him some of the school. He said, "Georgetown's not recruiting you." And Rashawn said, "No, they're not." And then Patrick says, "Well, you should go to St. John's because Chris Mullin, Mark Jackson, they're two of my closest friends.
Yep.
And if you go there, you'll be coached and you'll get an education." Guy was unbelievable. He was rooting for me,
He
a
was your best
Georgetown guy.
recruiter, Coach.
It was unbelievable.
That's great to hear, honestly. I
Yeah.
mean, and those guys got a bad rap. They were the bad guys at all the time.
Yeah.
And that,
But
and
they
Well,
again,
kind
they
of wanted it that
Coach
way,
Thompson,
built it up.
Say it
Yeah.
again.
And Coach Thompson was a real sweetheart, believe it or not. He
Yeah.
was really gracious. And it's funny,
They leaned into that.
when he was in high school, Lou was an assistant to Joe Lapchak. And there was a big high school tournament in, I think, Providence, somewhere, or in Rhode Island somewhere. And so Lou's up there, and he's trying to recruit John Thompson to go to St. John's. And Thompson says, Mom, there's this little coach at St. John's. He really wants me to go, and I really like him. And so John's mother says, you're not going to New York City. You're not going to go there. So John says, Coach never told me St. John's is not New York City. It's out in Long Island. It's in Queens. It's between the airports, between Kennedy and LaGuardia. He says, if I knew that, I might have gone to St. John's.
That's funny.
Isn't that something?
That is something.
So when we had our games against one another, they had so much respect for each other as coaches and people that even though the games were hard, really fought hard. We had battles, like
Yeah,
you
oh
guys
yeah.
had battles with them,
Especially
both
that
your
year. I
teams.
mean,
Yeah,
that year was special, right? I mean,
yeah,
we played each other 4 times that year, including the Final Four. It was
yeah.
back and forth, back and forth. Every game was And then give us your perspective on John Thompson pulling the sweater out.
Oh, that took the air out of the building.
It
Number
totally
one,
did.
yeah, it really did, and he came
Coach
out and
said
he hit
that
it.
too,
He hit it. He hit it pretty well under his sports coat,
Yeah.
and then they went on and kicked our butt pretty good in the regular game.
Yeah.
But that really, the excitement in the city. I mean, they could have put 30,000 people into the Garden that night.
I agree. Yeah.
It
He was
was
the master of the mental game, though. John
yeah,
Thompson.
he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were wonderful years. And hey, here we are. We're talking about it's 40 years ago. We're talking
Right.
about these
Yeah.
games.
Like it happened yesterday,
Like
Coach.
it
Yeah,
happened
and
yesterday. I was just
you
going to
you
say
can
that.
Like it
remember
happened
things
yesterday.
that happened. Sure.
So I got another question or two, and then we're gonna wrap this up. We're getting up against it a little bit. You know, every team, you know, Syracuse had a guy named Bernie Fine. We
Yeah.
had a guy named Marty Marback. Somebody else had another guy. You were that guy for the players at St. John's, right? I mean, when guys didn't want to go to coach about stuff, they came to you. Eventually, the information got to coach anyway, because that's what happens. But I mean, talk about your role that way with the players. You were a players guy, and do you think that helped or hurt you when you became the head coach there?
As an assistant, I think that was a good thing to be,
I agree.
especially early on when I could still play a little bit in my late 20s and early 30s, I think that was important. Uh, but Chuck, we had such wonderful guys, really guys, and
You did.
and they loved to play and they would play hard. They would work. And we had a couple of bars, like I'm sure you had at Villanova down the block from campus. And we would always go to this Italian restaurant. Too bad it wasn't around when you interviewed Lou. It was called Dante's Restaurant. It's right
Dante's.
down the
Yeah.
block from the camp. Great food, great people. And we would end up going there after games, win or lose, if it was a home game. And even if it was an away game, we'd come back and Dante would open the restaurant for us. We'd just be in there. And Lou said, what do you think, after a game like on a Saturday night, what do you think the guys are? It's about midnight. I'm driving them. He used to live pretty close to the campus.
Yep.
And I said, they might be in there, coach. He says, "What? Pull over. Go in and see what's going on." So I go in, and half of them are up on the bar drinking and
Oh boy.
celebrating. I think Billy Wennington was the leader of that group. Bobby Kelly, who was a terrific player for us.
Yep, he was good.
And
He was a tough son of a gun.
so they grabbed me and said, "Okay, have a beer." I said, "Okay, I'll have one beer with you guys." And I said, "Look, just be careful. Get home." So I get back to the car, and Lou said, "What do you think?" I said, "Coach, they weren't there, but they all left about an hour ago. But they weren't there, and they were having a couple of beers." He said, "Oh, they're
Yep.
good boys. Okay." And that was it.
That was a Bernie move, right, Sonny?
Yeah.
Couple road sodas. Yep.
Yeah.
Road
The
sodas.
head coach doesn't have to know everything sometimes. It's
Right.
better off.
Exactly.
And you got to remember, these are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids. They're in college. You
Right.
can't have a couple of brews.
Right. Yeah. It's
And
funny
they were of
because
age. At the time, they were of age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's
But
the thing.
you always worry about them because you don't want somebody to get stupid and something happens,
Of course.
Right.
And
yeah.
thank God there were no cell phones, Coach, back then.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
that's
God
right.
for that.
It's a
But
different
I have to
conversation.
say, Coach Carnesecca and Coach Mass both did the same thing. They let us be kids and they let us make mistakes. You paid the price. Don't get me wrong. You can't make a mistake and come back to practice and not pay the price. If you had a curfew that was at 7 or 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and you came in at 10 or 11, and he saw and he found out, it was hell to pay. And I'm sure it was the same for Coach Carnesecca, but at least he let us, experience that and be a
Yeah,
kid.
you got to be young guys. I mean, that's all part of it. You just hope that nothing crazy happens, you know?
Okay, so last question of the day. Give us, if you got two of them, give us two of your favorite Louis Carnesecca stories.
Oh, two.
Down from 200.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. There's 9 million of them, but pick two.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Start with one, and then we'll roll you into another one.
Yeah. All this. Oh God, there's so many.
Did I stump you?
Well, he we're at the Final Four, and I'm coaching now. I'm the head coach, so Lou is just he's going down. He's going to visit with his buddies Frank McGuire and a couple other older coaches, and he's staying right across the street. I think I was in the Marriott and the Sheridan. They sort of look at one another, facing one another. So I said, Lou, I have to do this radio thing.
Mhm.
I'll meet you in your lobby at 8 o'clock, and we'll go out. We'll go out and get something to drink and eat. He said, "Oh, good, okay." So I'm waiting around. Barbara's my wife's with me, and I said, "Where the hell's Lou?" I said, "Well, let me go. Let me go find out where his room is." So he's up on the 8th floor, and he says, "I'm up there. I can't get in to the room." And then the security guy comes down, and he said, "Coach," he says, "What's your name?" He says, "I'm Lou Carnesecca." He says, "What room you in?" He says, "This is my room. I'm in here." He was in the Marriott Hotel, not the Sheraton Hotel. Right floor, right door,
Right room,
room,
wrong,
but
wrong
Right
different
room
building.
number.
So that was the other thing. Well, that was pretty funny. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, in New Orleans again, and we wanted to go out. It was good. It was Good Friday, and Lou is very religious, and he says, "Come on, we'll go for lunch." So we go. He says, "Let's go in here." So and he says to the waitress, he says, "We're gonna have 3 tuna salad sandwiches." And the waitress goes away, comes back in, and she says, "We don't have tuna salad sandwiches." So Lou says, looks at her. He says, "Let me. We're in New Orleans, right?" He says, "Yep." He says, "That's the Mississippi River, right?" Well, yes, it is. Tuna doesn't flow into the Mississippi. He gave us such a hard time. So we ended up getting up after an iced tea and walking out. So they're
Wow.
just two book things. There are many stories, but
Oh, I know. We know. And listen, we wound up creating our own stories with Coach.
the other thing,
Yeah.
we're coming back from recruiting a kid in Pennsylvania. We never had any luck. And we're coming down the road by the what's it called off the
95.
well, it's Route
Northeast
80.
extension.
No, what do they call it? The Gap. You're coming down.
Oh, the Blue Route,
Yeah,
476.
as you're going up to Syracuse,
Oh,
the
okay.
Delaware Water Gap.
Delaware Water
Yeah,
Gap.
Delaware Water Gap. Yeah.
So it's late at night, and he says, "Do you feel like ice cream?" I said, "No, I don't. I don't. I'd rather have a cold beer." But he says, "No, you're driving. Let's get ice cream. There's a holiday. There was a ice cream place, Howard Johnson's. We
Okay.
go in, and he says to the lady, he says, we want two cones, vanilla cones." And the woman says, we don't have vanilla." He says, "This is Howard Johnson's. You don't have fucking vanilla cones." Turned around and says, "Let's go. Let's get out." Stupid things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. There's a million of them. And like I said, we created some. We went to his second favorite place with him for lunch. The Greek family restaurant.
Oh yeah, yeah, on
Those
Union
guys are
Turnpike
great.
there.
Yeah. And the
The
guy
the
that
the
owns it was a manager for Temple.
for Temple, yeah, for John
Yeah.
Chaney. So
That's
we'd go
right.
in there. We'd end up being there for 3-4 hours,
Yeah.
just
It
hanging
was
out
so funny
in the.
because we walked in. We had such a good time with him at the house when we did the interview with him that we went in there and we were planning on buying him lunch. But of
Oh,
course,
that
that
never
doesn't
happened.
happen, man.
Never
And listen,
happens.
coach, the guy was 98 years old. He was sharp as a tack, okay? And I go in, I go, I got to use the men's room. And I go in, I go to the cashier and I said, hey, she goes, too late. Coach already gave me his card.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
said, oh
no,
my God.
yeah.
Yeah.
He always said, "Don't ever have." He would tell me and Ronnie all the time. He said, "Don't have short arms when you go into that bar. Put your money up, buy the first round of drinks. Never
Rex.
have short arms."
Well, listen,
Hey, I
this
tell
was
you,
a lot of
I
fun, man.
I think about him probably every week. I miss him so much.
Yeah, we all do.
We
It's coming up
we
on a
had
year, right? I mean,
we had wonderful times together. A lot of years, even
yeah,
after coaching. Because after I got let go at St. John's, they called me back and said, "Why don't you come in and be do what Lou does?" So we would go. We didn't do much. We'd go to cocktail parties, golf outings,
right.
goodwill
Ambassador.
type.
Yeah.
So we would hang out, the three of us, Ronnie, for another 10, 12 years. And most of the time we'd end up going to Dante's or the Greek place. And next thing you know, we're there for 3-4 hours and the day was over.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. He's a
It's
special
funny. I'm
guy.
listening to you and all the stories. You could replace the name with Massimino. You could replace Massimino with Carnesecca. It's all the same stuff. It's great. It's great to hear that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope the teams have good. I think Villanova's going to be okay this year.
I think so.
I
I,
watched Georgetown. They look pretty good so far.
Georgetown looks good. I like their big three that they have. They had a pretty good squad. They did a nice job with Kentucky and Maryland and
Yeah.
Clemson. They won some big games already early, which helps. Now maybe they'll get some people in the building when they play. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so
That's right.
fickle up there at down there in DC. It's tough, and I know my Georgetown buddies are all starting to go back to the game and stuff. They were not coming around for a while for whatever the
Yeah.
reason, but now they're starting to go back to the games and stuff, which is great to see too. It's good. It's important that the basketball alumni come back, and I know a
Yeah.
lot of them come back to the St. John's games, right?
The UConn, of course, is going to be good. I haven't seen Marquette yet. Creighton's always good. He's a good coach,
He's a good coach.
really
Yep.
good coach, and he gets
Underrated.
good
Yep.
players. They do
Yep.
terrific. You know what? I miss not seeing Syracuse that much anymore.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, talk about what great teams they've had over the years, and I wish they were
Great,
back in the Big East.
great rivalries, great matches,
Yeah,
drivable games. I mean, fans from both sides were at both games. I mean, it was a great time.
he was so he always had great players, and he played that damn zone.
Yep.
And when you get into that dome, when you shoot, if you're a shooter, it's a different look.
Yep.
Whereas if you're in a smaller gym or even the garden, the dome is so big and vast that it takes a while to get used to shooting in that dim. And they give you an hour the day before the game and 20 minutes for warm-ups. But Jim did such an unbelievable job up there. His teams are so well coached, and he always got great players.
Yeah, he did. And he actually went out to California because of Big Monday. It was a big thing. They got Stevie Thompson. It's the old
Yeah,
story
that started it.
because he saw
Yeah,
Pearl
LeBron
play and
Ellis,
your
Michael
Pearl's
Hopkins. Yep.
yeah, right. There was a lot of good guys. So
The it was funny when I told you we took that trip to see a kid and he turned his and as we're walking through the airport, everybody's stopping Lou. And he's turning, he says, "Brian, what the hell is this all about?" I said, "They recognize you, coach." He says, "Why would they
Took him to
recognize
LaGuardia.
me?" He said, "They watch you every Monday and Saturday on
right.
TV if they're a
Well,
college coach." He said, "I can't believe they recognize him walking down the
And back
great.
then, if something happened on the court, the camera went right to the coaches. They were all rock
Yeah.
stars, all of them, you know. So
And you know, as a coach, you had to be careful
yeah,
because of that reason. Because a lot of times you might be mad at a kid, or sometimes the language happens and comes out. You had to be so careful. And Lou had a great knack of putting his arm around a kid and sort of whispering. You couldn't hear what he was saying, but he would say, "Don't
thank
ever take
goodness.
that shot."
Yep, I'm
You
very
know?
familiar. Yep, I'm
Yeah.
very familiar with that. Well, Coach, I can't thank you enough for spending
Thank
some
you,
time
Coach.
with us tonight. This was great reminiscing with you and
Okay.
you know, and going over all the Big East stuff with you. We really appreciate you coming out.
Well,
And
thanks for
we
having me. And
appreciate your granddaughter Cameron for helping us
y-
out to get you
yes,
set up. So we got to
Give her
give
yes.
a
some
shout out
production
to our
credits.
girl
Let's get
Cameron,
her. Let's get
Okay.
her an
And
executive producer.
she
executive
loves
producer.
going to the games, so I take her to a lot of the games.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
okay,
and
That's
she's
great.
becoming a volleyball player. She made the
okay,
school team, which is great, eighth
that's
grade
great.
team,
Yep,
and she really likes it. I think she might be an athlete. We'll see down
there
the
you
road.
go. We'll see. Either that or she has an IT career for sure. Because
That's right.
she came right in and saved the day for us. So thank you,
Okay.
Cameron. So
Okay, Chuck. Good to see you
you
guys.
too. Thanks.
Sonny, good to
Thank,
see you.
thank you, Coach. Good to
You've
see
been
you.
watching the Big East Rewind with Chuck Everson and Sonny Sparrow. The Big East Rewind is produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus, Daryl Gurney, and James Happ. You can check us out on the SiriusXM app, on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. And please, we ask you to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Thanks a lot, and have a great night, everybody.